Brilliant. Yes. Great. So thanks for joining me. This is the weekly Q&A, and it's all about how to increase libido, and lots of questions have come through, um, and I'm really excited to answer them. So say hi, let me know if you are watching on Instagram or Facebook, and also if you're watching the replay. I would love to hear from you. So the questions that we are going to be answering today are: what happens if you're in a partnership and there's a difference in libido? So one partner wants to be intimate more than the other partner, and it's a very good question because it can be a big cause of disconnect. The second question we're going to look at today is what to do to stop feeling bad for your partner that you have low libido. And this is a bit of a trap that you can fall into if you've got low libido and you're beating yourself up about it. And the third question came through, which was to ask more about what I did. So some of you already know my personal story, but I'll explain it briefly again, and then also what I did and any resources that can help you. So I did have a high libido, and then I lost it, and then I got it back again. It only took, 8 years or something like that, but now I can say I know the tools and the tips and the techniques in order to do that. So, what to do if you have a difference in libido between partners? Yes, so this does happen, right? Some people have different sexual needs, and it can be a real cause of disconnect. So the first question that I would say back to you is, have you communicated this? Like, have you really sat down and talked with your partner and said, hey, I don't really need sex as much as you do? And I posted a video last week, and it was around how many times is it normal to have sex? And there is no answer to this question. For some couples it's every day, for some couples it's once a week, once a month, whenever, and that can be really, really fulfilling. So number one, if you're experiencing a difference in libido between partners, then definitely sit down and communicate and talk it out and get really clear on what is actually your ideal level of sexual intimacy and sexual interaction. You may find that, sometimes in partnerships when the communication isn't super clear, you might find that some people, one of you's having sex when you don't really want to, or you're doing it for the other partner. And what can be kind of sort of funny is if one partner's doing it for the other partner and the other partner's doing it for the other partner, and they're both doing it for each other, but neither of them really feel like it. So get really genuine and really honest about how you want your intimacy or sex life to look like. Then the question goes to, is each person in the partnership happy with their level of sexual desire? So if one partner has a high libido and that feels really good for them, then that's great. If one partner has a low libido and they feel really good about that, then that's great. But then there needs to be a way to manage that. If there's a partner that has low libido and they're not happy with that, then that is a real invitation for them to go into their own sexuality journey, right? And that can look like starting to own their own pleasure. So not expecting their partner to have to give them pleasure or to fulfill their sexual needs, but actually finding it from within. And it starts by just connecting with yourself, and that can be through meditation, through breath work, through movement, and then starting to move into self-pleasure. So increasing libido has many, many factors to this, but ultimately, if I could sum it up in one sentence, is when you are connected to yourself, then you're more connected, or you are connected to your sexual energy. And it really starts with that core connection with you. And once you're connected to yourself, then you're able to connect with your partner. So there's a couple of different scenarios here. So one partner high libido, one partner low libido. Partner with low libido isn't happy about it, then definitely dive into your own sexuality journey. And that is a beautiful exploration into increasing your libido, which is possible and is possible naturally. If both partners are happy with where they are at, then that's when the couple needs to work out how to manage that situation. And this starts to feed into the next question, which is around how do you stop feeling bad how does somebody stop feeling bad if they have low libido? How do they stop feeling bad for their partner? And I'm coming to such an amazing point through all of this, which I feel is kind of mind-blowing. And that is that each person, and you included, own your own pleasure. Yeah? You own your own pleasure, which means that it is not the responsibility of your partner to fulfill your pleasure and sexual desires. Yeah, and that can be a pretty far out there concept if this is the first time you have heard this. So what does that mean? Well, of course you want to be, intimate with somebody, and of course we can offer pleasure to each other, but the responsibility of pleasure lands with the individual. Because think about this, like if you are being intimate or having sex because you feel like you have to, then you're in that interaction and you're not going to be experiencing a lot of pleasure, right? That's your responsibility. That is on you for getting yourself into that situation. If you are in a sexual interaction and it feels yummy and you're in the mood and you're out of your head and you're in your body, then actually you are the one that is accessing that pleasure. Your partner could be doing the exact same thing to you. Let's say that your partner is stroking your arm, right? Or stroking your face. And in one situation, that can be feeling like the most delicious thing in the whole wide world, and you just could stay there forever. And the next day, your partner could be doing the exact same thing, but you're thinking about the washing and you're thinking about all the things you have to do, and you don't really want to be there, and it's not pleasurable at all. So that's what I mean by you own your own pleasure, right? What's going on inside of your head and your body gives you access to how you experience your sexual interactions. And the reason that this concept is so mind-blowing and so exciting is because if you are owning your pleasure and taking responsibility for that, and that includes communicating with your partner what feels good and what doesn't feel good, then it also means that your partner is responsible for their own pleasure as well, right? Your partner is responsible for their pleasure as well and for communicating. And so what this does is that it takes the pressure off having to completely fulfill your partner's sexual desires and sexual needs. Yeah, it takes the pressure off having to completely fulfill somebody else's sexual desires and sexual needs. So let's reel it back into what happens if you've got partners with different libidos. Well, if you're both really owning your own sexuality and not outsourcing it and not relying on the other person to fulfill you, then it becomes less about the pressure that's put on the intimate relationship and sourcing the pleasure from there, and then starts to become about sourcing it from within. So I'll give you a couple of concrete examples. If you have one partner with a higher libido and one with a lower libido, the partner with higher libido can find expression and fulfill their own sexual desires through self-pleasure, for example. And it could be that the other partner is there in the room and is kind of helping, kiss or kind of helping turn them on. But if they're not feeling in the mood or they don't really feel like being intimate, it takes a whole lot of pressure off, right? A whole lot of pressure off, because they're just there facilitating it. and it's the person who really needs that sexual fulfillment finding it from within. So there's a bit of a taboo sometimes around self-pleasure, or like, oh, perhaps if somebody's self-pleasuring, it means that the partner's not good enough, or they're not able to fulfill their sexual desires. And I'm really going to challenge that whole concept and flip that on its head and go, actually, this can be a beautiful tool for allowing each person to own their own pleasure. Yeah. So now I'm going to combine all these questions together. So the question of what to do if you've got a high and low libido, sometimes that's about the person owning the fact that there is something that needs to change, or their libido needs to increase, or they need to step more into their sexuality, and that'll bring the libido needs into a more balanced alignment. It could be that the partners in this relationship need to take responsibility for their own pleasure and take some of that pressure off. And then what to do if you're feeling bad for your partner? Well, the thing is, if you're feeling bad that you've got low libido and you're feeling bad for your partner, that is putting you into quite a negative space, right? It's already hard to be in a relationship when you have low libido. Okay, that is a challenging position and place to be in. And if you continue, right, to keep going in this cycle and keep beating yourself up about this, then it's going to get harder and harder and harder for you to start to come out of it, or start to realize how you can increase it. And we call that victim mentality, okay, or being in the victim mode, because it tends to look like, man, like, gosh, like, why me, and why do I have low libido? And the fact that you're concerned about your partner is a beautiful thing, right? It shows that you are concerned about how your partner is in this sexual interaction, sexual relationship. But it doesn't get you out of it, right? It doesn't move the dial. It doesn't motivate you to change your way of being, okay? Which brings me into a choice point, okay? And your choice point is, okay, you have a low libido. So what are you going to do about that? Yeah. If you are at a place where you're really frustrated, or it's causing big difficulties, big disparity between you and your partner, then you have a choice in this, right? Because it is definitely possible to increase it. And it involves coming back to you and connecting with you and your own sexuality journey. Okay, for me, it took me about 7 years to really dive in. I was kind of on the fringes and did a couple of practices and read a couple of books, but really, if I wanted to see results, I had to make it a priority, right? I had to make time and space in my life to put energy into doing these practices so that I could increase my libido, so that then I could meet my partner, right, where they wanted to be met. And now I don't have a problem with my libido. My libido is great. But what I've gained from doing all these practices is that I still own my own pleasure. My partner still owns their own pleasure. And so it creates a beautiful space. And in my experience, the intimacy and the sexual desire has increased and become much more fluid and much more easy. So I would invite you to think about this concept and take it on board, because I think it can really deepen and increase connection. So going back to choice point. So if you're at a place where you're feeling bad about low libido and you're feeling bad for your partner, then you have a choice. You can either stay there, right, and stay there feeling bad for your partner, and again, beautiful that you feel bad for your partner, and still not going to change anything, still not going to move you forward, still not going to get you the results that you want, okay, staying in this negative loop spiral and a more victim mentality, then I invite you to step in, or consider really stepping into your own sexuality, right, into your own sexuality journey, because that's what's going to change the dial on what you're experiencing with yourself and also with your partner. And same goes for if you've got a difference in libido between partners, then you have a choice point, right? You can stay where you are, or you can really dive into some of this work, right? And I know you'll all be at different stages of this. Some of you will be in the work right now, and I just, that's awesome. And it takes time, right? So you need to be patient with yourself and give yourself time and space. Some of you will be on the fringes right now and just kind of looking in and going, "Whoa, what is she talking about? And what is this sexuality journey? And what does it even mean to like decide that you want to go on this journey and dive deep or not?" So, a couple of examples, starting to read books is a really great way to start to get your head in the game and understand what's going on. Then signing up for an online course is an awesome way to start to take ownership of your own pleasure. I have 2 available right now. And the other thing is getting a coach. And I had a coach when I went through my breakup, and this is what kicked off my whole journey back into self, and it was amazing. But having somebody to stand beside you and help you and guide you is really, I find, is so helpful and can be very essential. And along with all of this, it takes you doing the practices. So it's not enough just to understand or read a concept or know something in your head when it comes to sexuality. You need to feel it in your body. Okay, so this means dancing around your room to some sexy music. It means doing some breathing to drop out of your head and into your body. Okay, and which is practicing and training yourself to do that when you're intimate with your partner. Okay, so you're not thinking about putting the rubbish out or any of the things that you have to do. And it can be self-pleasuring, right? And starting to explore your body and start to notice and deal with some of the blocks that are coming up, to really owning and experiencing just beautiful pleasure and an easy sex drive and libido. Cool. All right, and then we're going to start to morph into what did I do in my journey. So just very briefly, I have a video on YouTube that explains a bit about my journey at Sarah Stella on YouTube. But I experienced painful sex for a long time. I tried to muscle my way through it. I tried to push my way through it. I tried to avoid it and run away from it. So I pretty much tried everything. And of course, this affected my libido. I really was pretty disengaged with being intimate. I was really disengaged from myself. I never touched myself. I didn't really know what that meant. Didn't really know what it felt like to feel sexual desire or to feel like yummy and good in my body and build that inner confidence and that inner connection. So my real big catalyst was a disconnect with my partner who had a higher libido, who was very compassionate and understanding, but ultimately it did impact our relationship. If we're not being physical and we're not in a sexual relationship, then I felt, we're essentially just friends living together. And I knew that I was missing out. So when we separated, it put me onto a whole big journey and a real commitment that I wasn't going to allow this to happen in my next relationship that I called in. So some of the things that helped me this is one of the key things, is focus on what you want, not what you don't want. So I was also stuck in a little bit of that negative loop cycle of being like, wow, I never get turned on. My body doesn't know how to do this. It just doesn't work. Like, I'm trying so hard. Why is it not working? And that is exactly the mentality that blocks libido. It just shortcuts it, absolutely. So what you want to do is start to get observe and get really clear and observe your mind. What are the thoughts that are coming in when you think about your libido and think about your sex drive, right? And any thoughts that are really negative, that are putting you into a negative loop cycle, start to work with those, start to cut them out and see if you can rearrange the story, okay, or flip the story. So for example, it'd be like, Why is it never working? Oh, it's getting loud with the rain. Um, why is it never working? I never get turned on. Well, with a mentality like that, it's like you're never going to get turned on, right? Because what you think is what you get. So um, start to flip that around and go like, oh, cool. I am. Oh, what has just happened to my Facebook? Oh, no. Okay, well, we're still live on Instagram, but Facebook is just cut off. Um, so yeah, just flip that story around and just focus on what it is that you want. Like, oh, I'm a sexual being. I'm a sexy woman. I have a lot to offer. I know that I can experience pleasure. I know that I want to experience pleasure. I know that pleasure is possible for me. Okay, start to think about some of those stories. I also went on a retreat, a 7-day retreat, looking at sexuality and blocking negative thought patterns, and that was really helpful for me. That was, pretty life-changing for me. So I definitely recommend some in-person retreats if you can make them. I'm really excited because I'm starting to brew up a in-person retreat in New Zealand, so watch this space for that. I think I mentioned before I had a coach, someone to help work me through it. And then I started to learn more and read more. So The Body Keeps the Score is a really good book. The Woman's Anatomy of Arousal, also a very good book. Another really good book is Vagina by Naomi Wolf. That's a very good entry-level book if you're interested in learning more. And online, a mentor of mine, someone who I really love, is Layla Martin, and she's on YouTube and she has lots of practical exercises on what you can do. So there would be some places to start. And I offer coaching as well, and I have some beautiful courses online that really help you connect back into yourself and your own sexuality. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up for the live video today. Hope that's been helpful. Please keep firing through any of your questions into the women's Facebook group, Women's Libido Rising. On Instagram, Sarah_Stella_coaching. Send me a message, private message me, post on my feed, whatever it is, all the things. And I'm just so excited to help you feel amazing and alive and open and sexy and vibrant and connected to yourself and connected to your partner or future partners. So I'll see you next week. Beautiful. Mwah.